Okay.
And part of his demise...
What happened in 1968 that made his life miserable?
He was doing good when they took on...
it's the 20s, dear.
The Bull. Schlitz Malt Liquor. What happened in 68?
Well, this would have been a long time ago. And and maybe we're talking about the different things, because there was a Schlitz brand that was out there that was owned by someone else. Okay, but I'm talking about when Schlitz was its own company.
Okay.
And it virtually went out of business almost overnight.
Oh, at that period of time?
Yeah.
That was a little early for me.
All right, well, here's the story. And again, we're getting back to why it's so important to protect your brand. Schlitz thought that it could change its recipe just slightly to save a few cents on costs. And of course, that if people bought it in the same volume, it would make the company millions of dollars, because in volume they make that up, as you know. And what happened was that change to the product, it didn't happen overnight, and so their market testing or whatever they did, it certainly wasn't long term enough, that they found out after about a couple of months of sitting on the shelf, the beer would develop like a green slime inside the beer. So you go to pour out your Schlitz, and it would be, it would be Nickelodeon Double Dare type moment where you're getting slime. Gross, right? And you can see how you go from being literally the king of beers to...
It's kind of what happened to Coke and New Coke. Coke with New Coke.
And I'm going to go there in a minute. So
okay.
Thank you for the segue.
Foreshadowing.
This is that example. That's the one that it turned out well. But so because Schlitz didn't protect its brand like it should have, literally virtually out of business overnight. And it would be like Budweiser not existing 6 months from now because of the same kind of mistake. Almost unheard of, right? But these are real life examples, and it did happen.
Wasn't Schlitz the beer that made Milwaukee?
That was their slogan,
yeah.
Right? That was part of their branding, was that it was the beer that made Milwaukee famous. Because back in the old days, as you know, Milwaukee had several breweries and several world-class breweries. Well, they've since all left, and even Miller is owned by an African company now.
Due to the German influx of people coming.
Right, very highly German area.
Australian.
Right. So, conversely then, as James already pointed out, Coca-Cola. Does anybody remember, he mentioned the Cola Wars were a big thing in the 80s, it's even in that Billy Joel song where he talks about all the history stuff. Do you remember what happened prior to what was called New Coke? That caused Coke to freak out.
The Pepsi Coke Challenge.
The Pepsi Challenge. Anybody remember taking the Pepsi Challenge? Now, admittedly, it was rigged. The Coke that you got in the blind taste test was flat and warm, and the Pepsi was fresh out of the bottle and ice cold. So it was rigged. It wasn't an apples to apples comparison, as the old cliche goes. But
those rats. People
were trying Pepsi and going, "Wow, that's much better." And typically, people like things sweeter. Especially the younger you are, the typical, just the research supports it that you typically like things sweeter. Well, Pepsi's considerably sweeter than Coke. And there was a lot of people that just always drank Coke, never even considered drinking Pepsi, because when you said Nike was the #1 brand in the world, I wasn't going to correct you, but Coke's the #1 brand in the world, and it has been for some time. You go to the jungles of New Guinea, and people know what Coca-Cola is. They don't know anything else about Western culture, but they know what Coca-Cola is. And it's pervasive throughout the entire world. And so as far as brand awareness, there is no greater brand. Well, Coke is seeing their market share just shrink a little bit because all of a sudden Pepsi's doing this Pepsi Challenge. And people are saying, hey, I like Pepsi better, and buying Pepsi. And as I said, it was rigged, but that's neither here nor there. It was working. And so the Coke execs were like, well, we need to make a Coke that tastes like Pepsi, a sweet Coke, because people don't want to drink Coke anymore. And they did all this market research, and they really did investigate it. It wasn't like it wasn't looked at. They did all kinds of market testing. People liked the way that New Coke not only tasted against Coke, original Coke, but they even said that they liked it better than Pepsi. And so it was like this, and I don't remember because I was a kid at the time, but it was this ultra sweet Coke. Okay. Well, you say that now, but their market testing said the opposite. Okay, they said people were really going to like this stuff. So instead of doing the prudent thing and adding it as a new product, but keeping their original product, they get rid of original Coca-Cola that's been around for decades and just put out this new Coke. Well, it is the biggest disaster in modern business history. They are not selling any of this new Coke. People are hoarding original Coke that they can still get a hold of, selling it at a premium price, and it is pandemonium. It's on the news every night when people are... there's a great story. One of the execs from Coke, there's a documentary that maybe I'll bring in one of our future classes, where the exec is talking about how a woman called, a very elderly woman called and said, "You took my childhood away." And he's like, "Well, how long has it been since you had a Coke?" She said, 30 years, but I can never have one again. And that's the kind of visceral reaction that people had to this thing. They were devastated. They were angry. Well, Coke, it wasn't on purpose. A lot of people have surmised that Coke did all this on purpose to really promote their original brand. But what ended up happening was 3 months later, when they brought back original recipe Coke, and now called it Coke Classic, and it's called Coke Classic to this day, sales skyrocketed. They sold more Coke than they ever sold before. Not only are they the #1 brand, but they're blowing Pepsi's doors off. And really, it's been Coke ever since. I mean, Pepsi does very well, but there's really no cola war. Coke is #1, and it's not even close. And it's because they created such a groundswell for this product that now everybody had to have it. What's interesting is it still isn't original Coke. They used it as an opportunity to go with a cheaper ingredient, kind of like Schlitz did, but they got away with it this time, to put in corn syrup versus putting in real sugar, which is the way Coke always used to be. So Coke Classic really isn't Coke Classic. And interestingly enough, the Mexican community doesn't accept even the Coke Classic. And so a lot of times at your grocery stores you can get what are called Coke, I think it's Coke de Mexico or something like that. I don't speak Spanish, so if I'm murdering that, I apologize. But it's your real sugar-based Coca-Cola that you would have drank 40 years ago. But you have to get that special, because the kind you just get off the shelf is...
I think they come in bottles, too.
Right, it's in the full-size bottle. Like you would have, if you watch the movie Back to the Future and it's the 50s and he's opening a Coke, that's the exact same recipe, as far as I know.
They have them at Pick and Save.
Right. And that's to cater to your Hispanic culture that really they don't like the corn. They can tell the difference, and if you try them together, to me it's very slight, but there is a difference in flavor. But you can see how protecting your brand is so important. Here, this ended up having a good ending, and for Coke, it was, people thought they were the greatest geniuses of all time. What's great is there's actually a Coke executive who said, "No, we were idiots. We completely almost ruined the most incredible brand in the world. We just got extremely lucky." But what was neat about it is that now that brand is so protected and it does so well. And to this day, their marketing is it's very simple. It's just reminding you to have another one. You don't have to do anything beyond that. You don't have to do any gimmicks, anything cute. Pepsi, you leave all that to Pepsi because they're trying to create points of parity and points of difference, right? As we talked about before. But Coke, just enjoy. Right, that's how they got the snow, what are they called, polar bears, and they got Santa and all that stuff. But that's about the extent of their gimmicks. You don't not much farther beyond that. There's some social media stuff, of course, but Coke can keep it simple because it's such a strong brand, and they just let that brand continue on forever.
And I think they even did that when they brought out the new Coke. They even spent all that money at the Super Bowl advertising when it came out around that time.
Right.
And they did all that special advertising, so they had to pay a fortune for that.
They lost their shirt at the time. Right.
Push a new Coke, and it was terrible.
So did they really label it New Coke? Was that
Yeah, Coke and a smile.
What's that?
Was the name really called New Coke?
Yes.
Yeah.
New Coke it was called.
And when was that?
When you were born.
1980. I'll get the year from you. It was early to mid-80s. I was little, and I'm older than you, so, I don't expect you to remember this.
It's the real thing.
So think about your favorite brand. What makes you so loyal to it? I'll give you an example before you answer. I had a student that loves 7 for Mankind jeans because of the way that they fit her. And she will spend $200 a pair of jeans. Now for me, that's outrageous. I can't imagine spending $200 on a pair of jeans. But for her, the value for those jeans were so high that it was worth the premium pricing. Any of you have a brand like that? That, boy, you know, I know I'm paying through the nose, but I gotta have it.
Cinnabon.
Cinnabon, okay. That's a good example.
Can't get a bit too much anymore.
Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
Jack Daniels, okay.
I'll
Do
tell
you get like the higher label stuff? Or do you...
I do.
The Honey Jack.
But I don't like that. But just the straight Jack. You know, the regular Jack, old number 7. You know, on the bottom.
Okay.
And the reason that I like it, and if anyone ever thinks they should stop doing tours, was it was fine before, but after I took a tour of the facility, I was like, that's it. I'm buying
That's
this.
all I'm drinking.
Yep.
Okay. All right, well,
Every night, 6. No, I'm just kidding.
That, I don't need you to admit we have a problem here, but just for the purposes of the discussion, so that's your brand, and that's
one of several.
That's a huge value, right?
Just
But
happens to be liquor.
and I actually had a friend of mine that invested in Jack Daniel's whiskey barrels, and he did get I forget what the premium one is called.
Single barrel.
Is that what it's called, single barrel? Well, his got that, so he made a fortune on that. So that was a pretty good move. But so I think his Jack brand value is even higher because he actually financially was rewarded by his favorite brand. But yeah, same kind of thing. People have that real attachment, and whether it's the image that goes along with it, or if you just love the flavor, or whatever it is, you have that real strong bond to that product, right? Anyone else? Jim?
Mine is a little different, but it's I'm a big Rush nerd, so that's definitely a huge brand because the fans, no matter how old they are, they put out a record. They don't even have to hear one song. They buy the CD, and they've been playing.
There's no such thing as a casual Rush fan, right?
There isn't. It's like
No.
either you hate them or you love them.
You either think that the lead singer's voice sounds like nails on a chalkboard, or you can't wait to get enough of it, right?
But the people are so loyal to that band, and I've been a fan since '76. And every time they have a record come out, I buy it no matter how bad or good it is, just because it's like the Grateful Dead or Dave Matthews. People just flock to that band. They could go, they follow them, and
right.
When you
played in arenas since '76.
You even rebuy it on every medium too. I mean, you rebuy it on every medium, because first you had it on a record, now I'm in my car, I can't listen on a record.
Yeah.
So I'll buy the 8-tracks, and now the 8-tracks are gone, so I'll buy the cassettes. Now the cassettes are gone, I buy the CDs.
Now you buy the digital.
iPod, yeah.
But now you realize that the records were better than everything yet, so you buy the record again.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
You like the scratchiness of it, yeah, right.
But, you know, just the whole point of that is
What's going on? That's true.
because now, like, all the guys that saw them when I was in high school,
Full circle.
they're coming out with their kid, their 12-year-old kids are at the concert now, and they're the only band really now that they play 2 sets. They don't have an opening act. They play for 3 hours, and they give you a good show. They play all the hits, and the people are just fanatical, and it's usually guys.
Yeah.
Or but
That's been my
majority.
that's been my experience.
My wife and her friends.
Oh, really? Rush fans?
Huge
Huh.
Rush fans.
But I'm saying the majority of
I'm on the side where I forget the name of the lead singer.
Geddy Lee.
I can't stand his voice.
Yeah.
And it detracts for me away from how great the instrumentalism is. And
It's my deal too. Yeah.
he sounds like Julie Andrews singing rock and roll to me. And I don't know, if she's singing Sound of Music, it's great. But anyway, so the brand perception for me is much different from you.
Oh yeah.
But I'll tell you, I was at a concert for a different band at the Marris one time, and there was an ad for the upcoming Rush concert, and like an idiot, I blurted out, "Oh God, Rush! That band, it's like nails on a chalkboard." And the guy sitting next to me, who's like 6'4", and
yeah, they're loyal.
not a real friendly looking guy. Like, what do you mean? And all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, I'm gonna have to like defend my life because I don't like Rush.
Yeah.
But it's a very loyal fan base.
That's a huge. Just the musicianship, and people can go on and on why they like them because the songs are about stories and how they can relate to them, and it's real topics, not just made up stuff. And there's so many different things, but like I said, they're hardcore.
Well, I saw you wear the shirt last
Yeah,
week. I think I commented there's no